Hi, welcome back. In today's video, we would like to talk about classes in Python. So what is a class? A class is a blueprint for creating objects. It defines attributes, or let's say variables, and methods, or we can also say functions that objects of that class will have. And what is an object? So an object is an instance of a class. Each object has its own attributes and can perform different actions. Let me illustrate it with an example. Here I have a class called Matplotlib. When we would like to declare a class, we need to write down the keyword class and then the name of it. Then we are going to have the column. After that, we see that in this class Matplotlib, we are defining 4 functions. So 4 functions are included in this class. The first function is add, the second one is subtract, the third one is multiply, and the last one is divide. So this is a class that holds 4 functions, okay? And each function performs different tasks. For example, in the add class, we are going to return x plus y, these two arguments of the function. However, in the third class, for example, we are calculating the x multiplied by y. Okay, so each function performs a different task and all of them are grouped in one class called the Matplotlib. Here, I would like to, for example, call this add function to do some mathematical operation for me. In order to call this add function, I type down the name of the class, then I put a dot here, then I type down the name of the function. So this way I am calling the add function which is inside the Matplotlib class. And inside parentheses, just like always, we are going to have arguments because this function needs 2 arguments, x and y. And 2 arguments are provided in parentheses. Here, in the next line, here I'm calling the subtract function from the Matplotlib class. In order to call this function, again, I type down the name of the class first, then I put a dot, and then I type down subtract. And in parentheses, I am passing 2 arguments as x and y that are required for calling this subtract function. This function is going to calculate x minus y and return its value. And because we are putting the call of this function inside a print function, it is going to print the returned value and the output of this function. Then we are calling the multiply function and we are passing 10 and 5. So 10 and 5s are x and y. So 10 multiplied by 5, the result will be 50. So 50 is returned and we are printing here basically the output of this multiply function, which is 50. So we are printing 50 in the output. Finally, we're calling the divide function. So we type down the name of the class dot the name of the function, and we are having 2 arguments, 10 and 0. And here 10 equals x because 10 is the first argument and the first argument here is x, and then y equals 0. Here we check to see if y equals 0 or not, because it's not possible to divide a number by 0. Therefore, we want to make sure that this is not happening here. So I say if y equals 0, instead of returning any result, return this message: cannot divide by 0. Otherwise, if y is not equal to 0, return x divided by y. So when I run this code, these are the numbers. So 15 is the result of this add function. So 10 plus 5, the result is 15. Then 10 minus 5 for the subtract function, the result is 5. 10 multiplied by 5, the result is 50, is shown here. And then 10 divided by 5, we see that it says cannot divide by 0. So if I change it to, for example, 2, and I run the code one more time, we see the results remain the same except for the last part. 10 plus 5, the result is 15 here shown. Then subtract stays the same, multiplication stays the same because we didn't change them. But when we are having 10 divided by 2, so we call the divide function here, and it checks to see y equals 0 or not. So y is 2, so it's not equal to 0, so this part is not going to be executed. Therefore, it is going to return the value of x divided by y, which is 5. So 5 is returned, and we are basically printing number 5, which is the output of the divide function with these two arguments. So in this video, we learned about classes. Then later on, we're going to also learn about objects and see how we can use objects to call a function, for example, from a class. And here we learned that we can group relevant functions in one class in Python to increase the readability of our code. And we learned how to call a function from a class. Thank you for watching.